right, so in this video, we are going to concentrate on making the high-res version of this particular rope. So now we need these two things to be connected together somehow in some procedural way, because when I change a point on the curve, I don't want to have to go back and do a lot of work on my high-res model. I just want all of this to kind of go together, and because we're using Houdini, we can do that, so we can accomplish that particular task. All right, so what I want to do is pull the information from this resample node. So we're going to make the high res over here. Okay. And I'm going to just pull the curve up because this is going to be our main input there. All right. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to create all the different curves that actually twist around the central line. Oh, that's the wrong screen. There we go. Around the central line there, you know, the bone of the path of the rope. All right, so I needed something that kind of twists around here. So to do that, let's go and let's make another circle here. Okay, I'm going to turn on my point display just so I can see everything. And what I want to do is I actually only want to keep 3 points in here just for now. This will just make it easy to test. So we just have 3 points on this particular circle, which makes it a triangle. Okay, and what I want to do is, just to get things started, I'm going to create another sweep here. Okay, I'm going to feed in the result of our curve from this resample node. All right, and then feed in that circle or that triangle, and I'm going to reduce the size so we can actually see what we're doing here. There we go. All right, so now what we've done is we've swept that triangle along that path. Now you might be thinking, why would we do that? Well, I want to use each individual point here and copy a curve to it. I mean, not a curve, a circle to it, because that'll give us each individual thread of this particular rope. Okay, so to do that, we're going to do something a little bit more complicated. It's not terribly complicated, but we haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to drop down a for each primitive node. Now this allows us to loop through stuff. And actually, before we get into that, I need to create each of the individual paths to do this. I was getting ahead of myself. I was getting too excited there. So what I want to do is I actually want to drop down an add node. All right, and I'm going to feed that add node the result of this sweep. I'm going to delete the geometry and just keep the points. All right, so we just have those points now. And then inside of this polygons tab, what I can do is switch over to by group. And you can see that now it's creating this kind of twisted looking curve. It's all connected. So in order to actually get a path per point of the triangle basically here, what I can do is say skip every nth point and set this to 3. And it needs to be set to 3. It needs to match how many ever divisions that you have over here. So if you just copy this parameter and go back into the add node, there we are, and just paste that relative reference. Whenever I change the amount of divisions I have in this circle, it changes the amount of curves I have. So I'm just going to keep it on 3 for now. All right, so and with that, we have 3 paths now that we can loft another circle around. We have 3 actual primitives, and that's why we want to use this for each primitive loop. We're going to loop through each one of these and sweep a circle along this path. So let's hook these guys up. And one thing I like to do when I start with these loops here is I select the end block and just set it to single pass so I can focus on one of the primitives at a time. All right, so I can scrub through the for each loop, or the for loop. All right, so in between all this stuff now, what I can do is put a circle down, and I'm going to do another sweep. All right, like so. And our circle's, again, way too big, so let's set this to polygon, and we'll put the uniform scale at something like 0.01 just to start with. All right, and it looks like we're getting a pretty good result there. And we'll drop the resolution. Now, you don't have to drop the resolution down. You can keep it high res because this is the high res model. This isn't going to go into the game. And then let's set the output to skin with auto closure, and then let's also do the angle fix just in case. Okay, So now with that, we almost have a rope. So I'm going to turn off that single pass again and turn off all this information that's being displayed. So we almost have a rope. The one thing that we need to do is twist it. And we can go back to our original sweep here and actually turn off this transform using attributes checkbox right here, and then just use the twist to make a rope. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, that's a good braid, let's actually tighten that up a little bit. So that's all dependent on this particular circle. So we can pull these guys together like so. Or you can make each individual thread in the rope a little bit thicker as well. And we also need to go and reverse the whole thing. Oops, not rewire. We want to do a reverse. And voila. So now it's still a little bit low res. You can take care of that by putting down another resample node up here. There's a couple ways you can do this. So we can do another resample and put this up to something like 100. There you go. We can also drop a subdivision node and just do one subdivide at the end here to smooth everything out a little bit. And there you go. Now we have a rope. And we can reduce the amount of, you can keep how many ever twists that you want, but now you can go back and make different types of ropes, and we can go and add more pieces, more threads to the rope. You can go and change the sizes. So we now have an almost completely automated way of making rope. And I'm going to reduce that back down. I kind of liked, it's a little more chunky when we look at the reference here. It's a little bit more thick and just overall just fat, So let's add some more twists here. That looks pretty good. All right. There we go. We now have our rope. And what you can do is you can go and create some more relationships. I'm not going to do it here, but you can create some relationships between these two particular circles here, right? With this circle right here, which is creating the low res. So that way the low res fits right over it. In this case, it kind of just ended up working there. It's actually almost perfect. But you can imagine, let's say if I change the radius of this particular circle, it should change this particular radius based off of, so what you'd want to do is you'd want to take the half the radius here and then half the radius here, and that should give you the whole, and you probably have to multiply it by 3 or whatever, how many ever divisions you have in this particular circle. But anyways, that's why I didn't want to get into it in this particular case. I just want to show basically how to start to insert proceduralism into your workflows using Houdini to just speed things up. I just need to say that I've been using Houdini for a long time, and when I first started out, I really tried to make everything procedural, and it takes a lot of different types of mathematics and stuff, like understanding of mathematics, to make everything fully procedural. And so this is why these days I'm kind of teaching more of a hybrid approach towards proceduralism. This is how you can slowly start to insert proceduralism into your current workflows using Houdini, and it really does just speed it up if you just start to insert it in certain places. Don't try to replace your whole pipeline with a full procedural workflow, because not only does it take a long time to set that up, it's hard to manage, and the amount of different variables that go into it are just insane. You might spend all year just setting up a procedural pipeline and not make anything. So anyways, it was a long spiel just for that. So that is how we go and we make a high-res rope. Thanks so much.